boys and girls, welcome back. Got another pattern here for you from this Pro Tie series that I'm kind of going through, picking some of these pros and some of the patterns that they use and that they tie. A lot of this I'm finding on the Fulling Mills site, seeing some pictures of these things and then just kind of putting them together. So what we have here today is Howard Croston's Car Wash Caddis. Very simple tie, very quick. A couple little different elements that I'm kind of messing around with, trying to apply to different patterns and things like that. I'll show you what we got going on here for you. For the rib, I just have some black small. This is UTC. The hook I have is an Orvis 1 POR, size 14. The bead we're using, just 3mm tungsten. This is their copper. Thread we're using, just Semperfli black. And the body of the fly we have here, what I'm using is Orvis's Ultra Chenille, which is I bought basically just because of the size. I wanted it as small as possible. And for the dubbing that we got here, I got some natural fox squirrel. So let's get into this. It's a pretty easy pattern. We put it together. Like I said, there's a couple different elements that I've done to it to kind of make it look more bug-like, I guess, or more natural. And we'll walk into those here in a sec. So let's get started. Yeah, if you've ever seen any of Croston's videos, he seems like no nonsense kind of guy. It's kind of up my alley. I put this on, the string on here. This wire, I've seen this pattern in a number of different colors. See it in green a lot, see it in different color browns with different wires. But yeah, it works. So get this bead on here. Put that wire inside that bead. And we're gonna wrap this wire deep down into the hook bend. Mainly because I want to wrap that wire up the hook shank so that it can butt up against the chenille material. And that's kind of the downside to this that I found when using this, is that it spins, when you put it on the hook. So really gonna tighten this down, and I only take it back to the bend. You don't want it super long, but like I said, I am binding that down really well. Okay. Gonna do a whip finish and hang this. Now I wrap this counter and I try to take this first wrap back and then come forward. And I am putting a lot of tension on this. I want it as tight as possible, and I'll show you why here in a minute or so. So we're gonna wrap that up to the bead, tighten it up. Now at this point, you can kind of see what we're dealing with here. A little bit of bulk on the underside, okay? It is kind of a chunky looking fly, and this one is kind of along this pattern. I did not do the next step on it, and you can kind of see, at least with this one, you know, we get into this material being deep into the hook bend, and I want to try to avoid that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our needle and our torch. We're going to heat that needle up. You can try to do this by hand, but most times you're just going to melt all of your product up there and have to retie everything. So now that this is hot, I want to just brush the top of this on the top and just on the sides. Just to kind of give it that smushed up caddis look. And you can kind of see by me pushing down on this, you know, you can see the cord on the chenille. So that's kind of the effect that I wanted to create. Now, when we wrap this wire, I am wrapping it around the hook shank on the way up to the back of the body here. Mostly because I just want to create that little tail that you typically see the caddis have. Okay, wrap that wire up. Normally get 3 or 4 wraps in there. That's good enough. I'll tie this off. And then cut off our excess. Now for the dubbing, I went with fox squirrel just because it's probably the buggiest that I have. And I'm not putting an awful lot on here. I'm just putting enough on to, you know, create that little bit of a thorax up at the top. And we're gonna end up brushing this out to a degree. So, super thin noodle. You can always add more. Seat that nano silk in there. Tie this off. Get that string off, then get your brush. Try to pull most of that forward because I want it to be like hanging down. Once you brush it forward, then I'm gonna pull everything to the side because we're gonna create a little bit of a shell back here with your UV. And what you wanna do, the spot that you melted straight up the back, all I'm doing is just putting in a tiny strip of that and then creating a little bit bigger drop near the head. And I want to try to mash that down a little bit so it gets down in those grooves. Okay, get your light, cook it a little bit. You can see the effect a little bit of that wire has here on the back side, It's just that little tail. I don't know what you really want to call it scientifically, but that's what it is. And by putting that heat on there, you can shape it a little bit better. You don't have that bulk that you typically are gonna run into, you know, when you're wrapping a thick material around the hook. I've tried a few that I've just hit with the torch just to melt the whole thing, and yeah, it doesn't have quite the effect. I'll show you one here. Like this one, you can see how much smaller it is, and I really melted this one up. You know, hit it hard. I don't have the little underbelly frillies that you typically are seeing here, you know, like most caddis have that are somewhat hairy. But give it a shot. Howard Croston's Car Wash Caddis. Go catch some fish. Thanks for stopping in, guys. We'll see you again soon.